Well, the EU is currently trying to decide how to regulate e-cigarettes, and basically there is a dispute between the European Parliament, which is the MEPs we elect, and the European Council, which is the representation of the 28 governments. And they're basically in a negotiating haggle over whether the restrictions or the regulations that they want to impose will be very restrictive, very burdensome, very costly, or whether they'll be a bit more liberal and open-minded and have a bit more commercial freedom in them. The main reason not to regulate e-cigarettes as medicines is that they're not medicines. And if you apply all the rules that apply to something like medicines, which are to do with the way that the drugs affect you, the way that drug delivery systems work, the way that the manufacturing processes work to ensure sort of pharmaceutical clean room conditions, you don't really need any of that. With e-cigarettes, you're trying to make a product that is an alternative to cigarettes. Okay, now, you don't need to have a drug to do that. You just need it to be, maybe 99% less dangerous, and that's good enough. The main thing you want with e-cigarettes is for them to appeal to smokers, and then they'll switch. If you have a perfectly safe product that has been made boring and bland and expensive by classifying it as a medicine, then you might as well not bother because no one's going to switch. Well, harm reduction is always controversial, and it involves making some hard choices, whether it's to do with needle exchanges and heroin prescribing, or whether it's to do with prescribing birth control to underage teenagers and all the rest of it. What you're really trying to do, though, is focus absolutely on the health and welfare outcomes that you get from it. And in the case of e-cigarettes, the health and welfare outcomes are fantastic if people switch from smoking to using an e-cigarette, which gives them a 99% or more reduction in risk. The key challenge, though, is that you have to make that switch appealing. And that goes against the grain of a lot of public health thinking, because it means that you have to encourage excitement and buzz. You want the private sector to be very innovative and clever. You want the advertising to be really appealing and so on. Otherwise, nobody will switch and you don't get the public health benefits. And that's why it's so challenging. There's no doubt that e-cigarettes are going to mount a spectacular challenge to the established incumbent positions of the cigarette and the tobacco industry. Whether they can pass them in 10 years or whether it will take 20 or more, it's hard to say. It depends on how much innovation we get in future. I mean, the products are not good enough to do that yet, but they're getting better all the time, and the more that they can start to provide an adequate, satisfying alternative to smoking and interest consumers in sticking with them, the faster the growth will be and the more rapidly they will overtake cigarettes. As they overtake cigarettes, we get a fantastic public health dividend, remember. And the WHO is saying 1 billion people will die from smoking in the 21st century. If you get like half of the smokers converted, that's just a huge number of people. Hundreds of millions of cancers, heart disease and so on. Hundreds of millions of lives could be saved. I think the more that the e-cigarette industry talks about the issues that surround it, the controversies that come from the public health side, the issues that regulators have, the ideas that regulators have to regulate the industry, the more they learn from each other and the experience of other industries. There's been a fantastic exchange of views in this meeting, and I think all kinds of new perspectives have been brought to the table, if you're participating here, some of which you'll have heard for the very first time. And I think that in itself is very valuable.